All right. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the next session, hands-on sessions, and we're gonna test this live on Zoom and see how it will work. Right. So now today we have two main speakers, Fitri Suraya and Chakiman, who will be conducting this workshop. This part of the activities are divided into two. So we'll see if we can squeeze all of you in here in Zoom. But before they start with the hands-on, they will actually introduce to you what gamification is and a brief introduction of the whole thing before we all get in. Right, so enjoy this session, this afternoon session. Make sure you have your coffee, all your keropok at the same time. Stick your face on the PC. See you there. Okay.
All right, thank you, Dr. Jessie. I hope you can hear me. So we meet again for this game design sprint. Before I pass to Dr. Fitri, just a quick bit on what we are going to do today. Basically, you are going to go through a sprint, very short one, in less than about maybe 2 hours, on how to design gamified activities for your classes. So let me just quickly go through a bit of input. Okay, so I'm sure most of you here have heard of the word gamification and game-based learning. There are a lot of arguments about how do you differentiate gamification and game-based learning and all that. But to us, it doesn't really matter, in that sense, as long as you know that you're using game elements or any kind of mechanics related to games in your design of activities. But the bottom line when it comes to gamification in learning is the learning. Don't forget about the learning part, because sometimes we get all the fun, all the enjoyment or the excitement from the game part, but we forgot about the learning part. So they get excited. After that, they go back home. When they came back to the school, the next day, when they come back to the school the next day, they forgot everything. So the learning should be the focus, but at the same time, don't forget to, kind of like link with the outcome that you want to achieve. So the takeaway from this workshop would be we're going to apply the play approach, right, which is done by, kind of like created by Dr. Fitri's team based on the CreativeCulture project before this, and now it's like another iteration of play approach, kind of improved version, and see how it works in your context. So in this short period of time, you're going to create gamified lessons, which are aligned to curriculum needs for science, math, and English. We're going to try our best to see whether this can be done online, because by right, this should be very hands-on, and you get your hands dirty on all the tools or all the materials available at your disposal. But now we have to do it virtually, so you can make use of all the things that you have, on your table or anywhere you have, and then let's see how it goes. There are more people coming in, so we have to be okay.
Slideshow.
All right.
Because I can see the division.
Okay, quick intro, Dr. Fitri, on CreativeCulture, maybe.
All right. Thank you very much, Kiman and JC. So essentially today, we're trying to be brave actually this session, because we've never done this online. We've done this same workshop many times, but people would actually come to our gamification center at the university. So we hope that you'll be patient with us, and if you have any problems, please let us know, and drop us a message in the text so we can try to address it. So just to give you a little bit of a background of why we're doing what we're doing is, can you go on to the next? Yeah. Okay. So essentially, we were fortunate to have received an award, a research award from the UK in 2017, and the project was essentially to test out to see if gamification would be an approach that would be useful for Malaysian teachers. So we came up with a gamification blueprint actually from that project. We held 2 gamification seminars, and I got my students, my masters in learning science students, to try many ideas, and then they brought it to schools around Kuching and Kota Samarahan. We went as far as Long Lamai in Baram to test out our ideas. So the idea behind the project was that to test it out, and then to see if there's a way for us to come up with a guideline to help other people to design games for learning. So, and yeah, so our context was essentially to use the indigenous values that we have in Sarawak, and then to make sure that we don't talk in a strange language in some sense, and we would like to connect that with whatever that is available within a community. And we were particularly interested in groups that are living really off-grid, who are not in the urban areas, because we know that the urban areas are already supplemented with materials and resources. So how did we capture data for this research? We developed a cultural protocol. This was essential for us, for the group to understand how to translate theoretical frameworks to local indigenous groups. And we also figured out how to deal with school bureaucracy. These are things that we were just learning, and although schools is part of the education system, sometimes it's a bit difficult for people like us coming from the university to come in and introduce new things. So by way of developing the cultural protocol, we were able to also engage local schools. And we try as much as possible to address the needs of the national curriculum, particularly the education blueprint. And we were very much interested in looking at STEM subjects. And then I think we paid most of our attention to science and mathematics particularly. And we also had games to teach English as well. So the nature of the games that we created are through a continuous dialogue between us and the communities. So we do not build things at random. If we introduce say Monopoly, if the community doesn't play Monopoly or did not know what Monopoly is, then it defeats the purpose. So what we did was we tried to do a little bit of a homework. We tried to find out what are the games that community will be playing. So through that process, we were able to identify the mechanics, the game mechanics that we would then select to see which ones would fit the content that we are trying to teach. So it's very much an indigenized version of designing games, learning games. So we got ambassadors throughout our projects. We also came up with an online hub. You can go to mycapsule.my. Now we actually transferred all these things to CreativeCulture.my. That's our new website. And the map that you see, these are the areas that we have been going to. We have gone to, I think, more than 10 schools, I think. Yeah, more than 10 schools. So, and at the end of that, we were able to actually talk to the university management to give us a full-fledged gamification center, which is what it is right now. So I think there's no other universities at this point which has a dedicated center just for gamification. So this is the theoretical sort of approach to how we do things. So three main things. We look at the content, we look at what are the issues that people have with teaching the content, what are the dimensions for learning that need to be addressed in that content itself. And then we go to gameplay, because gameplay talks about the game mechanics, about how we choose the suitable or relevant strategies in order to get people to on board to play the game. and to actually go through that experience of playing, and then after that the reflections or the evaluation of that experience at the end. So through that we created a series of rubrics, yeah, to understand how playful, how useful was the play, yeah, in the learning games that was created. And the last bit is actually the prototyping. This is where the fun actually begins, because we match what is in the content and what we believe to be suitable from the game itself. So that means evaluating all the game mechanics and to see whether it fits or not. So from the prototyping, we try to mix and match and see how things work as one unit. So that's how we essentially contextualize game design. So we came up with this. This came up from conversations with my master students actually in learning science. Both of us are teaching learning science in UNIMAS, and we thought, what would be a good way to help people who may not have experience building games at all, yeah, in a class. So we thought, can we synthesize the ideas that we have and to put it all in one canvas that people would see and go through the steps, and that they will eventually come up with some kind of an outcome, yeah, through the process. So we picked the word play, which essentially relates to gamification, and it derives from pick, look, activate, and yield, which is if those of you who know instructional design, this is almost the ADDIE steps, yeah, where you choose things, you select, you find out which are the things which is relevant, and then you develop it, and then you try it out, and then you would evaluate at the end. So we go through needs analysis, we design, we develop, we implement, and also we assess. So that's the similar steps that we took, but ours is a bit more indigenized, I would say. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So are you guys ready? I hope you have a pen and paper with you. We are going to ask you to do several things. So you're going to be working with other people who are in this room as well. We're going to put you guys in a breakout room, and you will discuss a game idea, and we will give you some time. We'll give you about half an hour maybe. Yeah, we'll come back at 3:30. Yeah, 3:30. And then you will show us a slide deck, yeah, a slideshow of your ideas. Nothing too long, nothing too fancy. We are looking at about 6 slides maximum for a 3-minute presentation. So we will, you would know who you're pairing up with. So so that's the fun part, I think, in this, that you're going to be talking with people that you're just meeting today. So what is it that you're going to do? So let us explain.
All right. The first thing that you need to do now is to start with the peak part. All right, peak, which is the actually it's empathy or empathize, where you, before you even start to pick a learning problem, you can list down as many learning problem as you want first, meaning through your group discussion or your discussion with your partner. Later on, you just list as many learning problems as you want, and then from there you kind of narrow it down to one most critical one, right, that you think can be addressed using the gamification approach. So you can choose a topic that you teach or familiar with, or you can even describe a teaching constraint that you're facing to teach a group of students. You can narrow down the context a bit. Then you also have to specify the group of learners. This is like what we are doing in needs analysis, where we have to target a specific group of people, because if you don't do that, then your game will be all over the place. It's like maybe only 1 or 2 students can appreciate it, but the rest cannot. So you try to zoom into a specific group of learners that you would like to focus on. Then you can pick a game you like, For example, if you are familiar with Monopoly, you can list down the mechanics, how to play it. Or if you have traditional games, like Batu Seremban, whatever games that you have in mind, you can list it down first. And then from there, later on, when you move on to stage 2, we're going to make use of all your information in this stage and kind of like formulate a game out of this, right? We are doing a bit of what we call as remixing existing things. You have Snake and Ladder, you have whatever game you have, and then we try to mix it so that it becomes something new to you, right? So there's another one. So for the next one, look, means based on what you have picked just now, then now you have to look at ideas. Look for ideas that can be used to make a more meaningful or maybe more engaging kind of games that you can deal with either addressing the learning problem or the target learners. So you can focus on whichever aspect that you like, but most importantly, you have to remember that you can't address all the problems. You still have to be really focused on one that, the most critical one that you want to address. Then from here, this is where you start to plan your game. This is like the design stage where you list out, the flow, the game plan, and whatever you would like to put into your game, and what are the learning mechanics that you would like to, match with. Okay, so this one.
I know it's a bit busy, but bear with me. I think most of you are familiar with the triangle in the middle, Bloom's taxonomy, and this is the revised version of the Bloom's taxonomy. There's already people who are working to categorize and classify what works at what level of the Bloom's taxonomy for developing games. So let's not try to invent the wheel. Use what is already there and pick and choose the ones that you feel would be suitable for you. Say, for instance, you want to gauge the apply level, the third level in the Bloom's taxonomy, and that you want some kind of a cooperation that happens in the learning. So I'm taking the green one, the one in the middle, for cooperation, and in the game mechanics, which is on your right, you probably want to have competition. They cooperate, but at the same time, there is elements of competition that will happen. In that game. So how would you put this together? So when you are creating or designing your learning game, I'll show you an example. If you can see this, this is Alleyway. It's a very basic, what do you call it? Paper-based game. It's just numbers. Oh, I see. Oh, sorry. It's just numbers, really, but the way that you okay, all right, there you go. Now this, as I said, is a very basic board that you can use, you can recreate, you can redraw this, but the idea is that you move from number 1 up to the end, which is number 25. You can have different numbers as well. So say if you're teaching mathematics, and you want to do the application level of lesson, what are the things that you're trying to teach? Say you're teaching multiplication, the multiplication table, specifically 7, 8, 9. So you can ask them, because one of the items that you wanted to introduce in the lesson was they must cooperate with each other. So that is an instructional strategy that you've chosen. So when they do this board, we can have like pawns, buah, and then they can share the pawns, maybe 2-3 persons using one pawn. and then or the same types of the pawn. They can use different types of dice. For instance, there are dices that what do you call it, would have only nombor-nombor genap, only odd numbers, only even numbers. So you can use that as well. So where is the element of what do you call it, competition? They must find a way that when they move on the board, they will the first one to reach number 25 will be the winner. So how do they do that? Maybe the gameplay would include a deck of cards where you would have all the multiplication problems where they need to discuss in order to progress to the next step. So even if they throw the dice would show them to which deck of cards that they need to pick up. And from, if they got the answer correct, then they can move to the to the steps in the in the game. So that is one really simple example of how you can use multiplication as your content, and you've already identified what learning mechanic that you would like to try, and then how you would use a game mechanic to enhance the learning of that multiplication table. So it's not just about 8 times 8 is 64. You can orchestrate the slide the cards using whatever you want. Like for instance, I'll show you some cards that we have built. This is for the teaching of language stories. Yeah, so it's called What's My Story? Yeah. And this actually originate from the UK. They came up with a set of cards. So the rule to how to play is actually here on the what do you cover itself. Yeah, this is the rule of the play. You just have to choose 3 different sets of cards, and then using the 3 different sets of cards, you will come up with a story. So this is actually a very nice small little way to trigger conversations in the classroom. So all of it is color coded, color coded, so it's easy for students to see. So say if they want to use one category, they know already that this category is different from this one, and then all the cards would bear different pictures. Yeah, so by picking the different pictures, they would be able to talk about different things. Yeah, and from that idea, our team came up with another set which is more localized to Sarawak. So like for instance, I'll show you, I'll pick out the word context and activity and person. Okay. Now 3 things: people, context, and activity. What story can you create from these 3 cards? Yeah, so this would be a nice trigger to get people talking, to get your students actually talking in the class. And obviously you can innovate this, you can make this your own, make it local to your own context, and I think students would appreciate that. You can even ask the students to what do you call it, come up with their own cards and put it all together as a product for your class. So this would be like sort of like the main what do you call it, point in which you will try to strategize the game that you will build for a content that you will choose. So the third part is actually the prototyping. I'm not too sure if you have time to do prototyping, but we want you to brainstorm, with the people you're going to be sitting with in your breakout rooms, and then you'll come back to us at 3:30, and then we'll see how your ideas pan out. So remember, it's 6 slides and 3 minutes. We'll give you 3 minutes, and then we will give you feedback. So we'll come back, and then we'll re-adjourn, and then we'll talk about the ideas that you have come up with within the time. Is that all right with everyone? Does anyone have any questions before we break out?
Sorry?
If everyone's all right, we'll start, putting you into breakout rooms.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
All right, cool. Thank you.
learning is not there, pada diorang pun is just playing. So why board game? Because somehow it encourages communication between the players, the students, and also it promotes negotiation skills and also turn taking. So more or less they will learn how to give and take. They will, you know, respect others' turn when they are supposed to roll the dice and when they are supposed to give their answer and to bid for session to answer the questions. Board game also indirectly promotes and engage in collaborative learning because we can pair students and group students to represent one pawn. So, you know, they actually take charge of their learning. So, and it's also a risk taker. They are also risk taker when they want to give their answer. They have to be very, very careful so that whatever answer is given is supposed to be awarded with points, with marks, not points or marks being taken away. Okay, so basically, the board game that we are thinking about is adoption from my previous board game that I've created back in 2013. It's actually the word game where I actually plan to teach vocabulary because I'm teaching English. So to me, when you have no vocabulary, you cannot talk, you cannot comprehend, you name it. So it goes for any other languages, let it Arabic, Japanese, any language. So when you don't have the words, you cannot talk, you cannot think. You can think, but you cannot convey your messages. Okay, so if you looked at our board game is more or less like this. We will have the start point, then we will have the finish point. Okay, and there are decks actually to be played on to the players. So Hanis, can I have this next slide? Okay, so this is how it's being played. So we have one chemist, since we are talking science and English. So the banker, so-called auditor, is our chemist and is actually the teacher. Okay, the players is the students. Okay, students can be group, or if you have sets of board games, they can play on their own. And the proficient student for that particular subject, they can probably be the chemist, because we know in class there will be students who are very excellent for certain subjects, and probably is actually empowering them, you know, towards other students, and probably other students can look up to them. So this is how it's played. It's a very conventional way where you have dices and pawns, and we have decks that represent categories. So for our board game, for that half an hour of discussion, we plan to have Spell Me. This is the category for the board game where words will be given, science-based words. For example, the sodium what, Miss Lisa? The word
Chloride.
Yeah,
Sodium chloride.
sodium chloride. So probably those are the words that they have to spell in problem solving. What we do is we give facts, we give scenarios that students have to give answer to. Sorry, problem solving is mathematics. It's all about calculation. There are calculations to be done in science, so those are to represent problem solving. Facts is when we give facts and they have to guess what is that facts is describing about. And draw me is for the student to sketch and draw the look of certain substance, for example, the neurons and the protons of certain, certain substance in science. I'm not so very good in science, I'm sorry. So the first player to reach the finish space is the winner. And how do we play this is that they will roll dices. Okay, so they will stop at individual spaces. So as mentioned, we have this spell me, problem solving, and facts. To make this board game a little bit more livelier and more engaging for the kids, we have the deeds cards, where in deeds cards, it's taken from the deck, and when they land on this particular space that says deeds, on the deed card, it will say, for example, you skip your science class, pay me 2 kilojoules. Or in this game, we play by kilojoules. we have money in Monopoly, we have points in some other games. So in this particular game, we have kilojoules. So if let's say you've been upgraded to the good chemist, for example, so you are awarded 5 kilojoules. So the chemist will give points to that particular player or the particular group. Other than that, we have these star cut spaces, star spaces, where when they landed on that particular space, they will be awarded with star cut, and at the back of the star cut, there's actually the value of kilojoules. So this is actually added to the points that they have collected throughout the game. So even though sometimes the first player to first reach the finish game is the winner, but there's always a possibility who is still playing the game can be the winner, because we are based on the points scored. And what is we have suggested and we plan to have is that the bidding section. So for example, if this player 1 is playing and he or she or this group of players fail to answer the question, to provide the correct answer, we will open it to the other players by bidding. So the highest bidder will have the opportunity to to answer. So if they get it right, the chemist will double the points. Let's say they bid 5 kilojoules, they'll be getting another 5 kilojoules, and they answered it, they provided the wrong answer, so we'll take away that amount, the kilojoule that being bid. And that's it. So, but we have not come up with our board game name because so basically it's a board game.
Yes. All right. It's a very good idea, Zuliana, and I'm actually amazed that you have your own board game already. The rules that you've described to us, these are the ones that you have brainstormed with your team, yeah?
Yeah.
The KJ cards, the DEATE cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is for primary 6, primary 5, primary 6.
Primary 6 will best be playing this game because if you were to offer to standard 4, probably the question that is being prepared, they can't answer it, and probably we can use this as a supplementary material in class before they sit for the UPSR,
Right.
you know, because it covers all the science topic up from standard 4 up to standard 6, and it actually can be, you know, adopted to any other subjects. It's all based on that teacher's creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just maybe some ideas to expand it a little bit is to probably give a scenario whereby they have to solve a case or a specific problem. The scenario can be designed from things that they are familiar with in the school, you know, and you can include these items into the game itself.
Yeah, sure.
So that would I guess initiate the ones that are probably a little too shy to, you know, share their ideas, but they see familiar things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they would be able to build upon, you know, what their friends would be talking about. So that is one way to perhaps, you know, get people going in the game, because kadang-kadang the onboarding tu ambil masa kan. The
Yeah.
onboarding towards the game tu ambil masa sikit. Kadang-kadang yang pandai memang dia akan automatically tahu apa nak buat.
Betul.
Tapi if you're getting like, you know, the rest of the class, mungkin dia perlukan sesuatu yang mungkin familiar in their environment. So these are the things that you can consider lah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Group 1.
All right. Thank you, guys. Well done. Can we have Group 2, please? Aliza, Dinelda, Halija, Jonathan, and Josh Shabel. And Nazi.
I'm going to share my screen, yeah? Aliza here.
Yeah, silakan.
All right. Hi everyone, I'm Aliza and I'll be representing Breakout Group 2. So what we've came up with is the game called Digits the Book. All right, so looking at stage one where we had to empathize, so the subject that we chose is mathematics, which would target year one primary students, but also it could go for remedial students as well who has not reached their level yet. So the learning objectives, basically it's to be students to be able to add 2 single digits, as well as to be able to create operations using addition with 2 single digits. They would have needed a prior knowledge of symbol and number representation, as well as addition computation. Okay. So what we are looking at here is assessment. So looking at the Bloom's taxonomy, it would be at the apply stage. So we would like to assess the students, meaning they've already had known how to add. And this would contribute to action points, meaning more rewards, and getting points for the answers that they answer. And also it involves collaborative and cooperative strategies. So our inspiration is this language game, which is Taboo. If you know the game, then I think the flow will be easier to understand. If you don't, it's all right. I will guide you through. So the inspiration is basically this Taboo game. And the game pack for this Taboo game will be a deck of cards, an hourglass of 20 seconds. And if you don't have an hourglass, you can use a clock or a timer, and a huge board layout and pawns. So how do we play this game? It could be in groups of 4, and each group is assigned to a cartoon figure. So this relates something to something that they like, and that will be associated to their pawn. So another way it could be played is like in a group of 4, and each of them get different pawns. So it depends on the size of the class and the need of the teacher. For each round, one player steps to the front to pick a card, and the player is required to state an addition operation based on the number, and the group members will have to add it up and shout out the answer. I will show you an example in a while. And if the answer is correct, their pawn is moved forward. And if the answer is wrong, they would remain in the same box. And the first group to reach the end is the winner. And as I mentioned just now, if you are doing it like in a group of 4, it could be altered to who reaches the end first will be the winner. So this is how the deck of cards would look like. So you have a number, and also you have symbol representation. So here I have 6 different footballs. And below that, I have one question, which is 0 plus 6. So the player has to think of an addition computation that equals to 6. But they cannot use the one given on the card. So they cannot say 0 plus 6. So they have to think of another way of getting 6. So for example, would be 3 plus 3 or 4 plus 2. So the player states the question and their team members would answer them. So here we cater to differentiated learning. So some students may not be able to figure out what is 6. So the picture actually helps them. And 0 plus 6 is actually a clue to them of what they're going to say. And if you want to make this more challenging, perhaps they could use a story or real life applications to solve the game. So for example, Alice gets the number 8. So she knows 5 plus 3 is 8. So she tells this story where she has 5 sweets and Matt gives her 3 more sweets. So the question that she asks is like, how many sweets do I have now? So that would be to evaluate a more hot thinking. Yeah. So that's all from our group.
Oh, thank you, Aliza.
Yeah.
That's
Welcome.
good. Very straightforward. And you know, I think any class can use this, particularly if you are trying to strengthen what do you call it, practice dalam class. And I like the fact that you have also a scenario that accompanies it. I have 2 young kids at home, and whenever they do things, you know, at work, they always ask me like, what's the point of doing this? So we now have learners, we have students who are, you know, they want to know why. You know, why should I add this number with this number? You know, and when it comes with maybe a little story that goes with it, for them to just make sense of why they're actually doing the addition, it does, I think, help, because again, remember what I talked about in deep learning. It's about making those connections obvious for the students. That is where we are helping them not just learn the surface of, you know, additions, but rather why is this important to know? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think this is a very good start, and I think you can come up with you know, different scenarios in which they can actually feel you know, if somebody takes away things from them, katakanlah, you know, besides just addition, you boleh buat subtraction as well.
Yes.
So you know,
Yeah.
I think the the opportunity is endless lah. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Aliza.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. I wish you guys are here, then we can do something, makan chocolate or something. But yeah. Break room 3, please. Group 3. Are you guys ready? We have Farah, Monica, Sivagami, and Wong. Silakan. Group 3.
You there?
Hanafia, Cikgu Hanafia.
No, no. Monica bukan dalam group lah. Nobody is.
Tak ada.
No? Anyone from group 3?
Tak ada kot. Ni suggestion for online teaching. Okay, sekejap lagi ya. I'll answer that sekejap lagi.
We go for group 5.
Yeah, let's go for group 5 dulu. Group 5, Aini, Hawa Nasir, Muhammad Noor Tahir, and Ruzana.
Keep on having gone already.
Ada?
Okay.
Alright. Silakan.
Alright. Okay.
Hi, sorry. So we're from breakout room 5. And after sitting on it for a while, we came up with a game. This game can be applied in various subjects and various levels, very adaptable. And all you need is a bag of M&Ms. So this is the M&Ms game. Hang on, yeah, okay. So this game is inspired by Russian roulette or the game of chance for anyone who is familiar with it, combined with the sweetness of M&Ms, because who doesn't like chocolate, comes the M&Ms game. And for this specific purpose, we chose to apply this in English for primary. But as I said earlier, the game is highly adaptable and it can also be a great icebreaker. So our target learners are primary students, age ranging from 7 to 12 years old, with low to intermediate proficiency levels. And the objective of this lesson is to be able to construct grammatical sentence using target vocabulary. Oopsie. Okay, so to play this game, teacher will initiate by listing the target vocabulary and assigning each word to an M&M color. Students would come to the front and pick an M&M. And later form a sentence using the vocab that corresponds to the color they picked. For example, if you pick a red, you'll have to construct a sentence using the word achieve. And if you pick a blue, you'll have to construct a sentence using the word controversy. Or as I said, this game is very adaptable, so you can use in any context you want. to level up, to give it a little bit more challenge, you can use different colors. You can use different color and tell them that it carries different points according to the difficulty of the words. For example, blue and red carries 1 point, green and yellow carries 2 points, and brown carries 3 points. In this case, the scoring is a bit different and it is a bit complicated. But essentially, in this game, everyone is a winner, as in you can eat or keep the M&M you picked. But if you're able to construct a grammatical sentence, you rock. And definitely a bonus from the teacher would be an extra reward. Okay, I think that's all.
All right. Say something.
All right, thanks for sharing. Hawa, right? Okay. Very straightforward one, I think, because reward and the points and everything. Maybe can consider labeling the colors by category. Because grammatical sentences can be a lot. Like maybe yellow could be nouns or something. Different categories of focus, so that they kind of know what kind of colors to choose, instead of just randomly picking NMM's colors and all that. But very straightforward. But in terms of to make it hot, you can consider all the suggestions just now, which is to make it more meaningful by adding some kind of like story behind it.
Yeah.
Not just not just getting the MMM. Right? Okay.
I've seen one facilitator who had M&Ms. She was trying to do a ice breaking with the M&Ms, and she brought it to the seminar room, just before the workshop, and then she was putting it onto the table, and then trying to arrange and coordinate the warm up. But chocolates being chocolate, all the participants actually went for the packets and then started eating, and then they went her whole activity down the drain because there was no chocolate left. So these are some of the things that I guess we have to think ahead of time. Like kadang-kadang it's nice, it's fun, tapi what if? You know what I mean? Sebab kadang-kadang yelah, the enticement of having chocolate, dah lah M&M lagi lah, senang
We're
je nak
using the
ambil.
M&M to fish the attention of the students, so they know, I'm gonna get an M&M, so I'm gonna come forward and maybe try using this word in a sentence.
Yeah. And you can also, because you mentioned low to intermediate punya level. I'm thinking, because I know there's a lot of kids who are a bit shy and passive in terms of using, trying to learn English. And perhaps what could be done, macam what Himan said, all one color could represent noun, but start the noun with BM. A BM word, and then get them to translate. When they get the translation of that BM word, you give them 2 pieces of that color. You know what I mean? So that is in a way still on rewards, but they have sort of like move forward, and then you are acknowledging that moving forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's one way to expand it. All right, thank you so much, Hawa. Well done. Can we get yeah, let's go to break room. The group 3. We missed you just now. I think they have the slide here. Shall we share your slide? Because I think we got the link here.
Are they able to share?
Yeah.
Farah is going to present.
Is Farah presenting?
Who is presenting?
Yes, I'm presenting. Hi. All right. Or maybe I should share my screen. Wait.
Wait. You want to share? Okay.
We have it here. If you want us to share.
Oh, that would be better. Thank you.
1 second, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi everyone. We are from Breakout Room 3. So maybe the next slide. Okay, so we're focusing on a learning problem, which is we found out there were two people from our team who is an English teacher. So we tried to focus on our students' difficulties in mastering grammar and vocabulary for English subject. Okay, next. Okay, so our focus group of learners is primary school student year level 2, year 4, 5, and 6. Next. Okay, so the inspiration of the game that we have created is a combination of various games. So board game, prominently Monopoly and Snake and Ladder, and then card game, as well as digital game apps. So we were hoping to turn this game into a digital game, into an app, but even as is, even if it's not turned into an application, it would still be a very adaptable game that could facilitate language learning. So the number of players will be 4 players per game, and the duration should be 20 minutes per game, per round. Yeah. Okay, next. Thank you. Okay, so to explain further about what this game is all about, the app resembles quizzes. If we were to turn this into an app, and it aims to tackle subject-verb agreement problems because it's a very prominent issue in especially for English. So we were trying to find a method to tackle this problem. So during the practice, they will be playing the game, and then during production, they could collaborate and compete with friends. Okay, next. Oh, so this is sort of like an inspiration board of how the game will look like. Maybe we can just proceed to the rules next. Okay, so how the game will be conducted. Okay, of course, the students will have to roll a dice, and then there will be color-coded cards in the middle of the board game. So red, depending on the difficulty, so red will be the easiest one, 10 points for that. Green, the intermediate level, 20 points for that. And then yellow, you will get 30 points. So within those cards, there will be either a stimulus or a question or a fill in the blank questions, whereby students will have to create sentences. And then there will be questions that focus on pronouns, verbs, as well as adjectives. So how will they win, right? They will get points if they answer the question correctly, so they will be able to move forward. But if they are unable to create a sentences based on the cards they picked, they will have to move 2 steps backwards. So after 20 minutes, the players with the highest mark will be the winner. So that's how to play and how to win. I think that's all. Yeah, that's all from our team. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Farah, for sharing. I think the board game idea is kind of interesting
Convention.
because the kids usually love board games. The sentence construction part, right? The subject verb agreement part. The app part, meaning can you do away with the app or you need the app? Just want to clarify on that. Because you mentioned about the app, right?
Yeah, but we were planning to create an app, but without the app, it's still okay. I mean, the board game as it is also it was fine.
Just that you might want to think about how to help the the weaker ones, because they might not continue playing after they realize that they lose out on, maybe four or six steps behind, then they just gave up, and the game will not be interesting when the competition is like biased to certain group of learners. So you might want to have maybe a help, or like they can get hints, or some we call that safety net. If they couldn't go forward, there's some mechanism for them to get help, and then they either use the whatever points they have and all that kind of thing. So something for you to consider, because board game, usually if you play it once and you realize that you can't really move forward a lot, then you won't play the game anymore. It's like a one-off thing.
I think subject verb agreement is one of those things that's it's very difficult to teach. And I see this problem even at the university when we teach our students here. How do you make it? How do you help people to make sense of subject verb agreement? That's one thing that I would like for you to think about. I think the game serves as what it is intended to, but I think for people to understand it in the way that why is it necessary to have subject verb agreement, done correctly. I think that's where the gap is in terms of how an English teacher understands it and how kids learn English, because subject verb agreement is not really something that is replicable in bahasa. It's different, it's a completely concept. Jadi why you put S, why you put ES, why you put all these things. Jadi I think kan kalau macam you boleh gabungkan with another subject, like for instance science, you teach them science content, but at the same time they're actually using the language. You know so you can cooperate dengan kawan-kawan yang bekerja, yang teach science, so they have a context to talk about it. That kalau language ni on its own saja, macam how you were trained as an English teacher, I think it would not really make sense for kids, sebab dia tak nampak macam cakap the why should I know this rule? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So just a suggestion, kalau if you have the time, maybe I think it's nice to maybe brainstorm dengan those teaching science, and you kill two birds with one stone. They get to learn the science content, but at the same time they're actually using what you're teaching in English class to make sense of what the content in science.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. We'll try to add it to the games later. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you, Farah. I think we have one more group, yeah?
Let's go.
Yeah.
6.
All right, group 6. Dancy, Gus.
Can we name the group?
Kofong, Munira, and Zara. Anyone? Anyone presenting for the last group, for the group 6? Dr. JC is also in there.
Sorry.
Are they discussing? Anyone from group 6?
Anyone from group 6?
These strangely.
Okay, present then. No worries. 1 second.
No worries.
Yep, I think it should be all good now.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So basically for from group 6, and sorry, just give me 1 second. The chat is blocking my view. I'm not sure how to, but okay, it's okay. I have to go through with it then. Okay, so basically we're group 6, and for our group, based on the play section, the problem section, we plan to touch on English for primary school kids, maybe for year 2 or year 3, and our learning objectives will focus more on the grammar, particularly for I am, was, were, something along that line. And as for the activities, what we plan to play is something we call fill in the blank. So this is more of a like hands-on and also not really physical, but we have students to be divided into groups. It can depend on how many participants are there. So we let them to take turns holding an am, is, was, were card. And with that card, we have like fill in the blank. So we have like a sentences ready, but not the full sentences ready on a whiteboard. So they will stand on a same starting point, and they will so basically we'll count to 3 or something like that, and have them race to fill in the right blank. So just like, so this is an example. So like twinkle twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are. So yeah, that's how it basically works. And how to win, basically, you have the one who's the fastest and the one with the most correct answer for the team that has that's fastest and has the most correct answers to win. And at the end of the game, we'll have the winning team to have been given the rewards. So I think that basically sums up the game. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions. Okay.
Sorry, Munira.
Yes.
Munira,
We were kicked out just now.
we
Oh,
were
really?
So sorry.
Wait, so what happened? Okay, give me 1 second.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Wait,
Uh,
so where did I stop?
we didn't actually listen to any of your presentation.
Can you
Oh,
stop?
really?
Yeah,
Yeah, from the first-
Okay.
terribly sorry.
No worries. But is my screen sharing right now or no?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but can everyone listen to me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let me start again. So yeah, so we're from group 6. Hello again, everyone. Sorry for the technical issues, but let's move on and talk about the problem station. So what our teams would like to focus on or approach is the English subject, and we would like to focus more on the primary school students, especially the younger ones like standard 2 or standard 3, and have this game focus on grammar, especially something quite easy, but also something that we as adults sometimes get confused to, like am, is, was, and were. So how the game works is basically like fill in the blank. So I hope everyone can see the screen. And oh, sorry, I forgot to put it in full screen. But yeah, so it's a fill in the blank, and we have the students divided into 2 main groups. And I think it depends on the class of size. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 5 participants. And so we have the student take turns to hold the am, is, was, were card, and have the sentences, like not the full sentences, ready at the whiteboard. So they will be divided into teams, and will take turns to fill in the blank. So just like this. So twinkle twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are. So yeah, they will take turns to race from the starting point, from the same starting points, and fill in the blank. So basically that's how the game works, and how to win is also quite straightforward. And the one who has the most points and the fastest has the most points, that is the correct answer, wins, and the winning team have been giving the rewards. So I think that's all from our team. Yep, feel free to ask any questions. So yes.
All right. We couldn't see your slides, but it's all right. We got what
Really?
you
Okay. I'm not sure. Sorry.
Now we can see. Now we can see.
Now we can see it.
Okay.
Okay, you
I'm
don't-
not sure why. So yeah, basically that. But
Now we can't.
if anyone gets the idea, I think that'll be fine.
Yeah. This one's okay.
Yep.
I think you can go a bit more physical with the younger group. Like for instance, you can get them to actually role play. You know, they can act as the verbs. You know, the is, are, was, were. You know, and their friends can actually, you know, string a sentence, and you can ask them to, you know, talk about something that is present, and then after that change it to past, so they can see how, you know, the sentence actually has to change. The verb has got to change from is to was. You know, and you can put them in a costume, you know, and they would probably wear, like, you know, like something on their head or on their chest to say that they represent is or represent are. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, some sort of role play, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That sounds like
Because
a
the
good
younger
idea.
kids would like that. I think they appreciate that. It's a bit more physical, and I think that would be something memorable. The learning experience would be memorable.
Yep. I think that's a really good feedback. Maybe we should work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Iman, you want to say anything?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Very good ideas, and as you can see, you know, the more feedback that you get, talk to each other. Now that you know each other, you know, from random people signing up for this workshop, now you know each other, and I think, you know, keep the conversations going, because at the end of the day, when we want to talk about you know, making your teaching relevant for 21st century, we have to remember two things. Why is it that students lack interest in the things that they are you know, exposed to in class, and what is it that hinders them from understanding the content? So again, go back to these things. It's, you know, using games or using gamification as a way to approach learning. It should not be just promising the fun or the play part, but rather, you know, it goes back to whether this will reinforce the way that they understand something. If you want to get students to be more engaged, more motivated, improve on the way that you talk to your students, improve your communication skills, improve your diction about the content that you're teaching. Yeah, no matter if you're teaching in primary school, secondary school, or at the university, diction again is very important, because that tells people whether, you know, the how much you understand the content knowledge. So the content knowledge should be key, because that is the driver in which any kind of subject that you're teaching will be understood effectively by your learners. And listening is a very strong but always forgotten. Yeah, listen to your kids. Sometimes, like what we said in the feedback, you know, there are groups of children. Those of you who are teaching in primary school, there are groups of children who may not want to participate because they feel that they are not good enough, or they are shy, they are passive. You know, they don't know where to start. Yeah, so listen to them. You know, the way that you maybe ask them questions may have to be a little bit different from the rest of the class, who may be able to catch on a bit faster. Yeah, so use different ways. So that's why I always tell you know, my students that whenever you come and teach, you must have a bag of tricks, and this bag of tricks is your teaching tricks. Yeah, the way that you want to get your students to be involved, yeah, in your classroom interactions. And you have to always improve your bag of tricks. You cannot be teaching the same way as how you did 10 years ago, katakanlah. Yeah, so always try to find other things, you know, not just the tools, but also the way you want to use the tools. So even if you move towards digital learning, the same principle. It goes back again to the content that you're teaching. How effective would it be if you're using the tool that you have chosen? So these are the, I think, decision making that you need to have when you want to deliver effective instruction. All right. So I think we'll stop here, and I think Dr. JC wants to say goodbye and close the session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. It's been a real pleasure. I hope you will continue and chat with us. I think you have our creativeculture.my website. All the slides that we've presented today is there. So yeah, and we have also lots of things that we would like to share as well through the project. And as we build things from the project, we would like you to participate as well. So yeah.
I shall keep this short and sweet, just in case you're all exhausted from all the sessions. Yeah, so what have I'm just going to summarize what we have gone through from the morning sessions as well as this afternoon sessions. The slide will be made available on the website as well, not Facebook, but on the website. You can follow us at www.creativeculture.my. Right, I'll type it in the group chat in a bit. So just a quick one. All right, so this is what we have covered. All right, I can't seem to find my mouse. I need to move this so I can see all the group chat. All right, so these are the things that we've covered since this morning. So I hope you have gathered what STEM plus education is. So it's not just the discipline of STEM, not just about the arts, the science, chemistry, and physics, but how are you going to have everything all together, even art in STEM? How can we use colors and painting and putting math into it? Of course, there are many ways. So we give an examples like, when kids play Jongkak, for example. So what is the mathematics behind Jongkak? For those who actually studied advanced mathematics, then there is a Fibonacci theory in Jongkak, right? So, and then we also talk about social innovation, how we should actually involve society, finding the needs of the people, finding the needs of your fellow peers, finding the needs of the students, finding the needs of the management, and how can we innovate solutions, right? And by incorporating STEM plus education. Of course, in the end of the day, we always talk about HOT, higher order thinking, Part 21. And how are we going to move STEM plus education into that direction? And what is it with 21st century learning? It's about building the skills, the new sets of skills. It's not actually a new set of skills. It's an old sets of skills that even our parents had, even our foreparents had. A skill of communicating, a skill of empathy. So these are the things that are perhaps has lost along the way. So we're just having to retract and remind ourselves we need to pass down these sort of skills, the skills of problem solving instead of shoving, how, I remember when I went to school, we go to tuition, so basically the teacher just shove all the knowledge and solutions into your brain, and after you finish everything, you just vomit it out. But we see what we can do further from that, right? And we also look at the trends and technologies. I think there is a question about earlier on online games. So there are a lot of existing online games that are available. Given the pandemic, I play strategic board games, and these games are now available online. And even you can use Zoom, simple game. I know earlier days during the MCO, friends were bored and we don't know what to do. So we created our own pictorial games using Zoom, and try to guess with one another. So I think you can actually, instead of coming up with new games, you can use existing games and try to incorporate it into teaching and learning, even activities with your fellow peers. And then the pedagogy of strategies for deep learning was also being introduced. There are a lot of pedagogical strategies. So this is not the first and the last sort of workshop or even talk. There will be more to come, and our educators, Dr. Fitri, Joaquiman, and also the rest of the team would share some of the pedagogical studies, okay, that can be used and implement. You can also share it with your fellow peers. And yes, you can create games using Padlet. Yes, excellent. And today, this afternoon, you've gone through game design thinking. That is also another strategy. So how do you come up with games? How do you come up with perhaps not just game, even solutions? You can actually use design thinking approach. Okay, same sort of processes, just different sort of problems. Games is used because games is a universal language, one with different ways perhaps will speak different language, or one with different linguistic will presents the expression differently. But however, games are common somehow, that one looks at games, the mechanic, everybody knows reward. So there is a common universal language. Therefore, games is being introduced. Okay, so from here, I just want to end, but before I end, I just want to introduce to you the future of STEM Plus education. So you will not be the first to listen to this, or maybe you have seen this. What is the future in STEM Plus education? So you're lucky to follow this through, and you have learned as well that we have talked about how we can engage with communities. So more of this sort of workshop will be done. So not only for teachers, in the future we'll be calling communities together with teachers, students together with teachers. So it's no longer being different groups. So I understand even in this group there are also students. So we want to hear, and everybody should be listening to all the different groups of people. And then also we want to ensure that you try to include intentional play and risk. Okay, these are activities that can be included. You have done with the play, you know, the fun sort of games element into the coming up with teaching content. So allow play and risk. Many times one would use playful, but one would not use the negative word risk. But again, if you were here earlier during my introduction, I was talking about getting students to learn their failures. So risk is also good. Risk also makes you excited. You know, the kiasuness will come out. So allow that to embed and reignite. I think every single human would want to take risk, and with doing so, that would also build a resilient community. And then interdisciplinary. So we have our team in UNIMAS. I'm sure in a lot of universities in Malaysia, if you're closer to other universities, you can also work with them. But with ACES, we have an interdisciplinary team. So we not only look at education, you know, in terms of content, pedagogy, but we also work with computer science, data analytics. We work with marine biologists that looks at water, coral reefs. How can we help? How can we give back to nature? What are the problems that are faced? What's wrong? What's with the coral reef bleaching? What does it mean? How can we innovate? Can we come up with solutions? Can we get our students? Can we get students to go on the ground and actually learn and be part of the community? To not just get scientists in to check on the water or the bleaching of the coral, but can any one of us, when we go to the beach, can we actually do it? So this is where interdisciplinary approach can come in if we allow it to happen. And with that, grand challenges, with that, all the competitions that are available should be participated in all school. I think your principals, your headmasters should allow this. So perhaps parents, do not stop your kids to join all this competition, because there are a lot of things that they will learn, not just one small content, but how can they integrate all the different contents together. All right, and that leads to, of course, innovation and accessibility measures. If one do not have or less access to the internet, for example, or not enough computers, intermittent electricity, like what just happened 10 minutes ago, where we had a bit of a search and the whole internet just went down. So what would happen? Frugal comes in. There is nothing wrong with using papers. So there is one workshop that we went. They even use masking tape. So you can ask your kids, find perhaps if they don't have a masking tape, find pens, pencils, stationaries with rubber bands, okay, and build anything that is circle and make sure it rolls, you know, and then they have to go around the house because they are not in schools. So can they locate what are the things, the stationaries that they are there? They can even use erasers, they can even use ruler, but as long as they tie it together with a rubber band and make sure that it rolls for perhaps a meter of length. So that is innovation as well. That is fun. Okay, so instead of just sitting in front of the camera and then you get inactive listener, but you get them to do something behind it. So, okay. And of course, finally, we try not to forget that, you know, Malaysia, or if we do have Indonesia team who is here, we come from Southeast Asia, the most beautiful place with diverse sort of culture. And our culture are not being tainted as yet. So it's nice to actually incorporate all this diverse culture into the content. Dr. Fitri and I, we have been or run this project since 2017, and I reckon you may agree or you may not agree that we find that a lot of content are very westernized. You know, when you get books and then you flip through books that you buy off the shelf in shops, you get to see macaroon, cheese. What happens to all the kolomi, laksa, satay? You know, these are simple cultural elements that would be nice to be included into our content, our educational content. Not too much of Western, but we need to preserve our culture. So identify communities, whichever school you're in, communities nearby will do. Even communities within your students' parents, your own parents, your own family. What are the problems? Challenge one another. So I won't stress only on students, challenge also to ourselves, as well as teachers, as well as your colleagues and so on, in promoting STEM. So I won't say STEM as STEM. I think I should have put STEM plus education. And that is what we want to move forward to. So I know I have a lot of slides. The rest of the slides are just images that if you're looking at it, to summarize all those. And of course, we need to promote diversity, and that's what we have. Flexible learning space. This is a new learning space with the post-COVID. Whether we can actually come back to classroom, but if we do with limited students, or if we can't, nothing should be able to stop us in passing down the knowledge. And of course, these are the measure. So before we end, we do want to also call for educators and partners. If you're interested to participate and join us in this exciting project, it's not only open for Sarawakians, but also in West Malaysia. We'll be looking at building ACES model, educational models, and then the blueprint. And then we are also calling for success story. All of you are already a walking success story. Everyone are a walking success story. So if you do have success story, what you have done, perhaps not just after you have captured, from this workshop, after going through this workshop and then you implement, but perhaps you have done innovations in your classroom and you want to share with us, please feel free. Our email is at the bottom, creativeculture.my@gmail.com. Email us, and then we will actually contact you, and we will discuss with you, we will talk with you, and we will also promote your work, because we work together with Vietnam, Indonesia, and the UK. So we do want to promote your work outside. So let's not keep it inside tong keropok, all this knowledge, but let's promote it outside to the world. Okay, so I have in front of me, we have the Remix Play, this is our gamification blueprint. And I think Dr. Fitri have showed you the play cards. And then we have the What's Your Story as well that you have seen. So we localize the What's Your Story with our culture. And then we have the what you have gone through the design thinking in a Malaysian version. Okay, for the teachers, and then also and that's it. All this, if you're interested to have a hard copy of it, please again email us. We will see what we can do. If we have extra, I think we do have extra, we can always post it to you, or just contact us if you're interested to know all this. Okay, excellent. So it has been indeed a wonderful day, and I hope we definitely have spoken to the team, and they have definitely learned a lot from you all. So we are all learning from one another, and I hope you too have learned and have captured and have got a lot of things back from the whole day's workshop. And thank you so much again. So any questions? No questions? Tired already? Okay. So with that, we thank you so much to you all. Very good job with all the games, and keep up the good work. Right, thank you. Thank you so much, and everyone from ACES also would like to thank you. Okay. Stop sharing. Yeah, well done. No question. Can I have the screen for morning session? Yes, we will, once the recording is done, they're compiling it, we will share it on our website. I'll type it here straight away at www.creativeculture.my. Okay, it's not there yet. If you want to follow us on Facebook, Facebook, it is at creativeculture.my. All right. Thank you, everyone. Twitter. Twitter. But Twitter is not so active. My caps _ my capsule. Oh, sorry. Sorry, that's a bad _ my capsule. Twitter. I did a typo mistake. Oh, we keep in touch again. We'll see you again in the next workshop and so on. Thanks. Bye bye all.